Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and finally the day has come, which I know a lot of you have been waiting for. I've had a couple of you message me several times. Shane, I know he's one of them, Xpedition fan, keeps messaging me. Has it come yet? Has it come yet? Has the review been up yet? But I know some of you are excited for this. I am too. Anything that is a price tag like this, you instinctually, just the first thing that you say is why. You know, you kind of wonder why. But the Xlite 31, Xlite 33, both of them are about $2,000. So Xpedition has put out this bow using Magnite riser, which they're claiming that it is stronger and lighter than carbon. It's more vibration free than aluminum. Just an all-around better material to make a riser out of, like the perfect bow hunting material. And that's kind of what their pitch has been on why these have reached such a high price point of $2,000. So getting it out of the box, immediately, the first thing that stands out is the weight. I mean, this thing came out like the Levitate, where it just kind of comes out and you're like, wow, that's incredible, especially when you have so many different bows in here, and like some of them are, getting to over 5 pounds, not even dressed up. So immediately that's the first thing you notice. And then also just the riser in general. It's kind of like a caged riser, top and bottom, double bridges everywhere, kind of pickle holder holes, like 3 of them. It's just a different style of riser. Looks really cool, very sleek. Looks like it's going to be very solid. So Xpedition, I think they wanted to come up with a Magnite riser bow in previous years, but couldn't accumulate enough material. I know with COVID, after COVID, some things were just hard to get. So I think they've had this in mind for a while. So I'm glad it finally came out. I'm glad it finally showed up, because to be honest, there was a moment when I thought, man, maybe this isn't just going, maybe it's just not going to come. I kept calling the bow shop, and the guys, you could tell he was just as, anticipating and maybe a little frustrated as I was, just being like, when is it going to come? Because I was so excited. So it's finally here. I went with the 31. So they have the 31, the 33. The 31 to me had those perfect compact bow specs. So that's what I went with. It got some really nice speeds, but 31 inches axle to axle, 6.5 inch brace height, comes out at 3.75 pounds. The range of draw length, which we'll talk about in a second when we talk about the cams and mods. It has a two mod system, which will get you from 25.5 all the way out to 30.5, broken up between 2 mods. A little bit different style than maybe some of the Hoyts that we've seen, but we'll talk about that in just a second. And then you have a 50, 60, 65, and 70 pound draw weight option. Multiple different colors. You can mix and match the colors, the limbs, the accessories, the riser, the strings. I love that. You can kind of customize everything. Not a ton of options, but just enough that you can kind of customize everything like you like it. But let's go back to the riser. So riser made out of Magnite, which is, what they're saying is Magnite is something that you would see in like defense and aerospace industries. Obviously some of the best material that you can use, the strongest, the lightest, for things that you want aerodynamic, and like, you want the best components to come up with some of those things. That's kind of what they're using it in. And again, that's what's going to make up the price points on this bow. It does come with some of the best bowstrings and cables that you can get, which I love. And then the entire bow is very, very well made. Again, is it worth $2,000? That's going to be for you to decide. Is if you do have the money to purchase it, are you getting your money's worth? That's kind of what I'll give you. But the riser, I love it. What we've seen more and more and more is the shortstop kind of bottom stabilizer position down here that comes with the dampening, really short stabilizer. You can remove that, kind of mix and match your stabilizers. I have one of these Stokerized on here, which is these, it's kind of a one-piece back bar and front bar stabilizer that you can mount on the front, and then it kind of has the kicking stabilizer off of the back. All of it's kind of off-center to lit. I actually like these. They're kind of cool. I think you can very, very nicely stabilize your bow with these. These are something that are cool. We'll do a little review on those, but check those out if you haven't yet. And then it has the position for your back bar. It also has these little bitty dampeners right here. They call them doinker dampeners, but they're just kind of these little bitty place dampeners off of the back to help with vibration. Something new, something we haven't seen. That was kind of one of the first first things that caught my eyes, like what is this little thing here? But again, something else to kind of help the dampening of the bow. The riser, really cool shape. It has like a double bridge all across the top part and the bottom part. One of the other things that I noticed just by looking at without feeling was the grip. It kind of is a bow shape, like a long bow shape type curve to it. Very different, unique. That's something that I'm just gonna have to shoot a bunch with, and we'll give a little bit of feedback on that later. And then it has your 2 burger holes in the front. It also has 2 holes in the back side of the riser for that hamski rest, if that's what you wanna go with. Has a really nice solid cable guard, string stop. The limb pockets, one thing that I did notice on the limb pockets is there's kind of a bolt that you will loosen and then tighten before and after changing your draw weight. So you loosen that, change your draw weight to the designated draw weight, and then you retighten that so nothing moves. I kind of like that, a little bit of security there. Underneath, you have 2 holes that are bored out to kind of prevent those limbs from moving forwards and backwards. I love to see that. Very nice solid limb pockets, very sleek. You can tell that kind of factors into the weight of this bow and just how light it is. And then you have these cams. To me, they're kind of very similar to the HBX cams by Hoyt. Have a very similar shape to them. I think that they're gonna be, I'm anticipating this bow to be a nice compromise between speed and comfortability, speed and smoothness. The last one I shot from Xpedition was the Smoke, which got steaming speeds of 311 at my 70-pound draw weight, 30-inch draw length, and a 500 grain arrow. That was that is the fastest bow we've gotten here, and not one of them, it was by a long shot. So I'm glad that they kind of went back and kind of balanced that out a little bit, where the Smoke, to be honest, wasn't that harsh of a draw cycle, but it wasn't as stable as I would have liked to see in full draw. So I think a better compromise here with these new cams. And then the module system, they broke it up into 2 different mods that are gonna separate that draw length and kind of maximize performance, but they put most of the draw lengths on one mod that goes from 25.5 to 29.5, and then the last 2 half-inch draw lengths are on one mod together. So I have it on that module system, which just has 2 different positionings for 30 inches and 30.5 inches on the 31-inch Xlite. So again, a little bit different way of doing it, but they did break it up a little bit. And then the other thing that I really like that we will see once we're in full draw, but it has something kind of unique, and it's a dual cable stop on there. So it kind of lands on both sides under that bus tuning system on the cables. So really nice solid back wall. I'm sure we'll see. I think this thing's gonna hold nicely. All around so far, first impressions, very well made, extremely light. And we'll talk about that too. Obviously you want light if you're hiking a long ways. You want your pack, your setup, everything to be as light as possible so that you're not having to carry as much weight for longer distances. The other benefit to a really light bow, which I've also mentioned, is if you're like me and your bow is gonna sit in a tree hanger for most of your hunt, you're not hiking in a long ways, you get the ability to dress your bow up any way you want without having to sacrifice for one thing or another. You can use whatever sight you want, whatever rest, whatever stabilizers, weights, counterweights, whatever you want, and that kind of allows you to sacrifice a little bit with the riser being so light. So the Magnite, they say, is 33% lighter than aluminum, so 20 times more vibration dampening than carbon and 3 times more vibration dampening than aluminum. So again, all around, all of the things that we look for, this seems to be the total package in kind of the things that we as hunters want, and archers, you know, a little bit of vibration in your hand. I'm sure that factors into the noise. This thing has almost no flex, so you get kind of more accuracy downrange. So that's another component that goes into this Magnite, is that it has as little flex as possible. And again, this is their pitch, you know, on why the bow is priced as it is. So, and I kind of mentioned on it for just a second, but it does come with America's Best Bowstrings Platinum Edition. So you got the best possible bowstrings, cables, servings, everything come with a 2-year warranty. So that's just a plus, but again, you're paying for it. So I would assume that that would be on there. But let's go ahead, let's sling a couple before we step outside. I'm so excited about this. Even before we started this review today, I felt blessed to kind of be able to get this bow in here, get it in my hand, something I've really looked forward to. Anytime a company kind of hypes something up, haven't seen a ton from Xpedition, so I'm glad they got their feet under them. I know they were bought out by a new company. They're kind of getting going, trying to put some stuff out there. So this is exciting to me. I love the competition in between companies. I think that's the best position for us hunters to be in, is for them to compete for our business. And the more companies out there, the better results we're gonna get and the more competitive they have to be. So I love that Xpedition is bringing something like this to the table that is very unique and something that we haven't seen before. So, Again, you pick it up, you can't deny the weight. Extremely light, even all dressed up like this. It's awesome. It's like the perfect weighted bow. Something else I'm going to mention before I draw this back is that it was a little short. So on the draw board, it measured out the 30 position, which is B on the second module, is 30 inches. It was actually 29.5 on the draw board. So if I was to shoot this thing in my daily repper, take it into the field, I'd probably set it on the A setting, which is 30.5, because it actually is 30. I'm going to keep it on the B setting for all the tests and everything that we do, but I do want to point out that it is a little bit short on the draw length. So the first thing, draw cycle, nice balance, very nice balance. That is not supposed to come out like that. A little bit stiff in the beginning, eases up, but it doesn't ease up enough that there's a jerking movement. It kind of gradually eases into it, which is nice. It's probably, you know, it's that bow where like you load it up and you're like, okay, this thing is gonna hum an arrow, but it wasn't too aggressive that you're like, that you feel it, you know. So nice draw cycle. I mean, right there, it kind of just comes back on you. I guess the other thing, I love this stabilizer on here. The way it's set up right now, it's balancing very, very well. Even the bare bow, sometimes when you pick up a bare bow, you can just tell it just has a really nice weight to it, and it balanced very nice, even bare. The biggest thing that to me that I caught my eye was the 3 times more vibration dampening than aluminum. You know, this gets 336 on the IBA, so it has some nice speeds to it, but man, it has a very nice shot cycle. So something that a lot of people talk about is the draw cycle, which in the end, it's just a big preference, doesn't necessarily factor to me into the success of any given shot, but the shot cycle, it's very clean. You can barely feel the arrow coming off. You can barely feel it into your hands. You know, the more perfectly tuned your bow is, the timing, everything that goes into the shot cycle. But even when they're all perfectly timed and tuned, you can still tell a difference in the cleanness of each shot cycle. And I would say this is one of the better ones. Very nice, clean shot cycle. When those cams come back over, it's just, the arrow comes off of there really, really nice. I'm excited to get outside. Let's shoot one more. And I would say the last thing, it seems to be right in the middle of the quietness that we've seen. Once we do the test, I think it'll land in there right in the 90s, maybe 91. That's just my guess. But I love the feel of the bow, the draw cycle, the shot cycle, the way it holds. The grip will grow on me. Very unique grip, just different than some of the other ones I've seen. I don't have anything bad to say about it, but it's something I noticed just because it's different. But I love the way the bow sets up. The draw cycle is growing on me, and I think as we shoot more and more, it'll kind of loosen up and just smooth out perfectly. But all around, first impressions, this is a shooter. I mean, this is a great bow. They put something out here that I really like. Let's get outside and fling as many arrows as we can. All right, so now we're gonna do what we call our freestyle shoot. Inside, we give you a single shot assessment, which is some of those first arrows that we'll put through any bow, and I think those are the truest to how everything feels. The more you shoot something, the more comfortable you get, and the more reps you put through it, the more familiar it's gonna be to you. So I like to give you that, but then we like to step outside and do a little freestyle shoot, which is just pretty much just us shooting a whole bunch of arrows, little different targets all over the yard. And so here we go. We got a box up here where we'll shoot, and we have a bore at 30. Once they go belly up, they're not reviving themselves. What? You don't. All right, so from over here, this is like the best place to shoot. We got the grill, we do our grill and shoot. This is like my favorite area. We got tons of 3D targets out here in the yard, all different ranges, different depths. 5-yard increments all the way up to 50. So starting at the turkey at 20, all the way up to 50 at the elk. We will shoot every single one, and I'll just roll through these. The one thing I've noticed while shooting this more and more is just, and I talked about it a little bit earlier, the shot cycle is so clean. And this thing was very easy to tune. It comes with some shims, shim kit that's on the bow, and then it comes with 3 separate packets, all different measurements, all different shims. And I love that they did that for those guys who like to kind of work on your bows at home. It just made it a little bit easier process if that's something you're not super familiar with. But the thing, once I got it timed and tuned, this thing shoots, it's like butter. And it's a hair on the snappy loud side, but again, I think it'll just land right there in the middle is what I'm guessing. It's really stable at full draw. It's like rock solid. It reminds me of the RX-7. Once you get it back, pins dialed down, it kind of locks in. You know, once you get set up and get comfortable, it just kind of locks in place, and you can really put an arrow where you want very quickly. And on the full draw stall that we'll do here in a second, I'm not sure. As I shoot this more, we'll kind of see, but it has a nice back wall, obviously, with these double cable stops, but I think the longer I hold it, it might want to jump on me a little bit, but that'll kind of show once we get out to 30 seconds, 40 seconds. But this thing, some bows naturally die down so much quicker when you get them back. Immediately, pins dialed down, there's no movement. Like I said, it locks into place, and then wherever you move, it just stays there. There's no wavering. One of the better bows I've seen this year in stability. And if you've watched my videos, what else is there? You know, stability at full draw. That's all I want, you know. So as I shoot a bow, you get more and more comfortable, better with it. Some bows, it might take a half a day. By the end of the day, this one, already I feel extremely comfortable. So now we'll do our full draw stall. This is the stability test. This is what it's all about to me. Minute hold, kind of assimilating that position you get stuck in occasionally while hunting. If you've hunted long enough, it just happens. For one reason or another, you get caught in full draw, waiting on that deer to move out from behind that tree or pick his head up or whatever you want to do. You know, you want to hold it as long as you can and put off a good shot. The last thing you want to do is let it back down, possibly spooking whatever you're hunting. So 1 minute. And something else, I try to keep as still as I can. I'm trying not to waver, not move, because sometimes you get caught in full draw and they're looking at you, you know. So I try to be as still as I can to get a mosquito in my ear. Reminds me of early season last year, October. It was just so hot still. Mosquitoes and bugs were everywhere. Trying to put a good shot on something. So now we'll get set up on the 50 yard. And I've said this too, like going from 40 to 50 yards, that's another stability test for me. It's like just making that jump. And then every, 5 to 10 yards past 52, it just, you can really tell if your pins are moving, how the bow sets up. But let me get set up and we'll get up to 50. So here's my assessment. I think this is just a bow hunter's bow. I think this is a bow made for all scenarios, all type of game, extremely versatile, really light to be able to pack in. Great, perfect specs, compact bow for the guy who wants to climb in tree stand hunting, for whitetail or whatever you're hunting. I mean, big game. This thing is just a fantastic all-around bow. So the question at the beginning was, if you have the money, is it worth it? Are you getting anything more? I would say, yeah. I would say this is one of the cleanest shots I have felt this year. I absolutely loved working on it. Very easy to time, tune. This thing just is a breeze to shoot. Then you factor in the ability to kind of add whatever accessories you want without sacrificing, or to be able to pack this in a really long way, nice and light, extremely durable. It's a cool bow. And now we got an elk at 50. I'm getting one a little bit up on that. Getting too close to that heart. I love this. I think if you're somebody that wants to make an investment, this is a great bow. You know, even if it's a stretch for you and you want to make an investment, it's a good bow. Or if you have the money, you're getting your money's worth. Has almost every feature besides a self-tuning system that any other bow has. It's just very high performance. I think Xpedition, I'm suspecting they took their time. They wanted to perfect the release of this Magnite type riser bow. I think they did a fantastic job. Xpedition is on my radar. I'm gonna keep this one for the season. We're gonna put this one in the field. I'm also looking forward to what else they have in the future. So I mean, this thing is just, I think I got comfortable, which comfortable to me is it feels like I've shot the bow 1,000 times, but I've only shot it a handful of times. So these are the first shots we do on camera, like we do every bow. We always give you those first shots and then we'll shoot it all day and then we'll kind of run it through the speed test, sound test, and give it that final grade at the end. But for a bow to feel as comfortable as it does right off of the bat, I love that. And I think that just is the definition of shootability, which is that made up kind of word that archers use. So let's go inside. We'll run it through the speed test. We'll run it through the sound test. We'll shoot it a whole bunch and then we'll give you that final grade. All right, last two tests, speed and sound, before we give it the grade. The last bow we reviewed was the Z1S. Speeds were not what I thought it was. We had some people in the comments ask if I actually knew the arrow weight that I was shooting. Not only do we shoot the same arrow weights, we shoot the exact same arrows. So I take these 3 arrows, I set them aside. So we shoot the same arrows every speed test, exact same. 2 of them are 300 spine, one's 400 spine. The 400 spine is a 440 grain. The 300 spine with the aluminum insert, 500 grains exactly. And then we have a B marked on the fletching with a Sharpie to indicate the brass insert, which is 560. So same arrows every single time. 30-inch draw, 70 pounds, 336 on the IBO. I think we'll be right in there in the mid 270s, maybe close to 280, which would be perfect. 278, which is exactly kind of what I'm looking for, which is kind of the icing on the cake because every other thing about this bow I just love. So for it to get that kind of ideal speed that I like to see, I just love to see that. .271. So the way we changed our grading for the speed this year is anywhere from 270 to 279 is a 7 out of 10, 280 to 289 is an 8 out of 10, so forth, all the way up to 300, which is a 10 out of 10, which nobody's gotten yet. The Z1S was close. That's 274. So 7 out of 10. I think it probably lands more consistently right in there in the mid 270s, which is what I was thinking. So let's shoot this lighter grain arrow. 440 grains. This is something I hunted with for years. I think this next year I'm gonna hunt with a little bit lighter arrow. The setup that I have, I think they're at like 470. So right in between this year and previous year's arrows. Let's go. 440 grains, almost 300. That's an awesome speed. 280 is what I'm looking for. I don't know why, just over the years, I've tested so many bows through a chronograph and with a whole bunch of different arrow weights, and 280 was just that arrow weight that I felt the best about. So, or 200 feet per second. So now we have a brass insert on the 300 spine FMJ. This is 560 grains. .261. So again, great speeds. Let's go ahead and turn it around. We'll get the sound on this real quick, which I think was gonna be 90, 91, 92 decibels. We'll see. All right, sound test. We got the visual up here. We'll go to the graph here, and we'll shoot 3 of the exact same arrows for this. So same arrow weight, everything. So I got 3 of the arrows we used for the testing for the speed. So we've got 3 500 grain arrows, same everything here. And we'll shoot 3 of these at a bag outside the garage out there, and we'll get a decibel reading. .4. Again, I'm getting better at guessing. You know, so you do this for so long, you can kind of guess speeds, you can kind of guess sound. Not that there's any benefit to that, but I was close. 91.4, that's right where I thought it would be. That's 89.1, which is nice to see it go under 90. To me, this is just like one of those bows. It's like every single thing I see about the bow I like. Sound, speed, weight, balance, stability, draw cycle, shot cycle, all of it. This is 89.1. I love to see that it sits there right under 90. On the quieter end of things. I love everything about this bow. All right, Xlite 31, final grade, been shooting all day. Some bows you just love shooting more than others. I don't know why. And something I said at the very end of the outdoor freestyle shooting part is that this thing was very comfortable to shoot very quickly, which I tie into kind of the shootability of the bow, which is kind of what we as archers, you know, kind of group all the categories into one. You have guys out there that talk about how there's not much different in between bows, and it's all the same pretty much, and it's all the same components, and they all feel pretty much the same. It's like, man, if that was true, then there wouldn't be this massive market for different companies, all these new companies, and a new bow every year. If that was true, there just wouldn't be. Each bow is very different, and if you don't feel that way, I promise you probably haven't shot as many bows as you think. And once you do, you start to realize, wow, it's more of the bows that stand out than anything else. There are bows that just stand out. To me, this was one of them. And to be honest, some of it probably goes into the riser, the weight of it, the balance of it, the little flex it has to it. But the cam systems on these are awesome too. This bow entirely is just a great performing bow. 275 on the speed, kind of right in there in the mid 270s. 7 out of 10 right to start. 10 out of 10 for the quality and durability. Besides the riser that is just so durable and made up of such a nice material, the limb pockets, the limbs, the cams, all of it very, very well made. Cable guard, everything on this bow is of the highest quality. This is just an absolute fantastic, durable, quality bow, and if that's what you want to pay for and you have the money to do so, you are getting your money's worth in that category. And then appeal, I also gave it a 10 out of 10. This is probably one of my favorite looking bows of the year. I love the double-bridged, kind of caged riser top and bottom. It's just such a cool riser, such a cool design. Has a very sleek look to it. I love the color options, the little customization you can do. I think they just did a very, very good job. They took their time putting it out, and you can just tell that they really put some good effort into this one. Technology, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I'm gonna say a 7 out of 10 overall, 8 out of 10 just because it was the first company that put out a Magnite riser. But it's not like they made a new component. You know, it's like they're just taking something that already existed and made a riser out of it. But I do love that feature on this bow. I think it's something, if they can get a good turnaround on these bows. I'm sure they'll try to put one out maybe every couple years or something like that. I know that this is bow number 11 is what it said on the box. So I don't know how many they sold. Maybe they were making them to order. So if you order one, then they make one for you instead of just trying to put a whole bunch of these and then not have them sell. I don't know how they did it, but I think if they get a good turnaround on this one, I think it's something that we'll see in the future. So technology, 8 out of 10. Performance, 9 out of 10. There are very few bows with this axle to axle link that's set up and that were as stable at full draw as this one. I mean, I love the double cable guard limb stops. It felt really, really nice. It just, like I mentioned a couple times, it just locked in is the way I'm gonna put it. It's just locked in. Wherever you moved it, it's set. You never overcorrected yourself. Everything, just wherever you moved it is where it's set. It was just very, very stable. I loved it. I love the specs on this bow. So 9 out of 10 there, 44 out of 50. Times that by 2, you get an 88 out of 100. It gets 0 makeup points because of the price tag, but 88 out of 100. I love seeing a bow from Xpedition that I just fell in love with. I'm excited about what they have in the future. Xlite 31, I'm sure the Xlite 33 is even smoother because this one was butter and it was the shorter of the 2 axle axles. But so if you found anything in this review that you found helpful in your bow buying process, please subscribe to the channel. This year is gonna be big for us here at Backyard Bows. Thanks for following along. We'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, leave us a comment. I love interaction. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have so much more to come. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook for updates of anything else that we're gonna review. If there's something that you're interested in, hit those links below and check them out. And make sure, no matter what your setup is, what bow you're shooting, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week.